Welcome to the 5th Q&A training video. In this video we're going to slow down a little bit and look at the query design. Basically do the same thing we did in the first video when we worked with the software, but do it very slow and explain all the details about how to design a query. A query is where the hard work is done in Q&A. I think that you'll find it's very interesting and very helpful. Well, to get started with this writing a query, let's just say we wanted a listing for all of the employee transactions by a particular employee. So we could type a label up here, ACE Union employee expenses for Faraday. That's the employee's name. And so we come to this point right here, and we want to write a little query that gives us all of the employee expenses for Faraday. So we'll double click on the cell there, and in this case we want to write a query that is going to be a summary report. 95% of all queries are either summary report or summary links. Summary link is returning one value to one cell. That is the case of making financial statements or something like this. Summary report is a listing of information. It could be any sort of listing that you could imagine. And so this is, we want a listing of all the transactions that have to do with Brother Faraday. So we'll go to summary report and we'll click that. And this is the fields for summary report. So let's go down here right away in the filter section and say we want to work with the ledger table. Almost all of our reports are ledger. Remember, ledger is where the transactions are, and that's what we're mostly interested in. So when we populate ledger there as the table that we're using, it has provided other fields for us that we need to filter on, and moreover it has given us a selection list, which we'll talk about. So we have three major sections: the filter section, the output section, and the selection section. Okay, the filter is actually filtering in what transactions we want, or filtering out the transactions we don't want. So we're saying give us only Sun Systems 5 and 6 transactions for this business unit, and for this table, and for this ledger, and in a little while for this account code for this period, and so forth. The output section is what we want to show on our report and in our listing. And so in our case right now, we want to show everything that has to do with this employee as far as at the transaction level. So we'll put just almost think about a ledger, account listing, account number, journal number, journal line. We could put in our report the account number that the entry is. Remember, we're doing all of the employee expenses, and we want to show journal source, maybe that's the person who did the accounting transaction, transaction reference, and description. And this information we also would maybe want to put out, put in our report output the base amount. And so right now this is the columns that will be in each of our columns. This is the column headings for each of our columns, and the columns will appear in this order. So we can change things around any way we wanted to. So we could take transaction reference. I've left click that and I pull it up and move it to where I want it. You can also use these buttons here to move them up and down. Also, the sort order for the transactions we will show will be starting at the top and working down. So it may be that we want all of the transactions for this employee, but not by date, but by account number, then by date within an account number. So I moved up the account number here, so first the transactions will show by account number, then within the account numbers, the various account numbers, will have the dates and the transaction. Now, and so let's go ahead and pick up the filter out, so we're only getting employee expenses. And so if I click this right now, it shows me all of the accounts, in the ledger, starting with the very first of the chart of accounts. So to save myself a little bit of time, I will put 81 here before I click it. And so when I click it, it now starts the listing at 81, so I don't have to scroll through all the accounts. And I want to go to the last account that I'm using, and so we'll put 819. And so this is going to give me 81 to 819 is my range. I could choose the accounts by holding down the control button and cherry picking the accounts that I want to include in my report. Okay, but in this case I want to stick with just what I have here at 81. So I've actually cherry picked here. I don't want that, so let me go back and get rid of all of the ones that I have gotten through the cherry picking and put 81 in here, and go down to the 81999 to get the count that I want for that. Sometimes if you look at the screen and it looks like something is missing and so forth, it is trying to be helpful, but sometimes it trying to be helpful can exclude items you want to pick from. So if you click the little clear button, it clears its thinking and gives you the whole listing for you to start again. So if you're ever seeing the screen and you feel like data is missing, just click the yellow sign and you're okay. Accounting period, I'm wanting the transactions for just this year. So I'll put 2009-001 to 2009-012. But I could have just as easily put 1844 up here and that would give me all of the transactions for this fella from all the way back from the beginning of the organization, so to speak, up to this point. Now with this query right at this moment, it would give me all of this information on all of these on this account for all employees. And so now to show you the most powerful thing in all of Q&A is to realize that we could take any of the attributes that are on the transactions and move them up here to be a filter. So I could filter on journal number, I could filter on journal source, who did the accounting, and just get all of one accountant's transactions. I can filter on anything I want. Anything down here can become a filter. So we want to filter on who. So I'll just take this and left click it and pull it up here and put it right up there. And so now this has become a filter to filter out all the other transactions, and I'll come over here and we'll get the employee ER employee for Faraday. So I just double clicked it. I could pick a range here if I needed a range of employees, or I could cherry pick them if I wanted just a few employees. But I've just gotten Brother Faraday here because that's what I need for my report. And so now that becomes just one more filter like all the rest. And so we're saying only use SunPlus, only use this business unit, only give me things from this table and from this ledger and from this account code and for this period and for this employee, and this is what I want you to give me. And so we'll go okay. And at first you're disappointed because you wanted all this stuff to be produced, but remember, we could be putting this as part of a much bigger report that we don't want to extract every time we finish a query. So when we're finished building our report and we're ready to go, it looks like to me I could use a little bit here. This would be for the year 2009, make that a little bit nice there, you see. And so we're ready to go. And so when we get it just like we want it, we run that baby. And we went up here to the extract button, got this, and we extract it, and we have all of his transactions sorted by account, then sorted by date, then the journal number, who made the entry, transaction reference, description, and base amount. So that is our closer look at queries for this lesson. Our next lesson is going to look at additional drill down functionality that I think you'll find very useful.